हॅलो करू लगेच करू ओके Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you this evening once again. We are looking into the comprehension part of UGC NET set exams, and we have gone through most of the topics last time. But again, just to refresh you and to remind you, we will go through this slides once again. So, what is comprehension? Reading comprehension is basically a very important topic. Almost in all the exams, all the competitive exams, it is asked. Comprehension is part and parcel of almost every competitive exam. The word comprehension comes from the word comprehend, which means to understand or which means to grasp. Now, comprehension is something which is very important also in our day-to-day life. We read so many newspapers, so many articles, we read so much of information in the form of articles and text and materials that we read. And we see that almost every day we read our newspapers. We read it, but are we really able to understand what the author or the writer of that particular article or that particular passage wants to convey to us? Are we understanding it 100%, or out of 100 things, we are only able to understand or grasp only 80% or 90% of it? So this lessons of comprehension or the techniques by which we can understand the passage, we can read the passage and we can take the most of it comes only through practice. The more we practice these comprehension passages, the more and more thorough we become, not only to give our competitive exams, but also to understand whatever we read in our day-to-day life. Now we get a simple kind of a passage containing almost 300 to 500 words, and 5 questions for net set are asked from it. And why I say this is very important and very essential part of your exam, because you can score full marks, full 10 marks out of this from this particular comprehension passage. It's an open book test. You don't have to memorize anything. You don't need to apply more of logic or brains to it. It is already there. You just have to read it, understand it, and answer the questions and get full 5 marks, or full 10 marks, I'm sorry. So it is an open book test, and this is a very scoring topic. This particular section is a scoring subject topic, and you can get full 10 marks out of 10 out of 10 from this comprehension passages. So this particular passages are taken from published materials, and 5 questions are basically asked from it. These questions vary in quality and range. They test our ability to read the passage, comprehend its meaning, and criticize its strengths and weaknesses. Then a comprehension passage contains multiple paragraphs, each containing a central idea which is explained with ideas and examples. Now, the student should approach the passage with an open mind. There is no place for readers' own opinion, assumptions, or prejudice. In this particular passage, when the passage is given and when the questions are asked, you are not supposed to apply your own knowledge. You are not supposed to apply your own thinking and answer the questions, even if it is against your own logic. even if it is against your own understanding. Better do it according to the passage, what the passage tells you about, and the answers you have to pick from the passage itself. Don't put your own assumptions, don't put your own opinions, or don't be biased, but with an open mind, answer all the questions that you get. To grasp any passage, you need to be a deep thinker. You should know how to connect with the words of the author. This is something very important, a very important technique. We need to grasp to understand any passage. We need to get in line with the author. We must understand the mind of the author, what exactly the author is trying to tell us from this particular passage. And that is the main reason why we must be able to connect to his words, to his thoughts. Okay, to enhance it, read the editorial of the renowned newspapers daily. Reading newspapers, especially the editorial columns of different newspapers, is very, very important because it touches all the different aspects of the society. Maybe it is connected to war, the current events, economy, national security, sports, politics, terrorism, what the government is doing, what the government is not doing, critical passages, critical articles, entertainment, and so many other things are covered up in the newspaper. So you must read the editorial passages from the editorials from the newspapers on a daily basis, because getting more marks in comprehension and getting the gist of comprehension lies in you reading more and more passages and practicing these passages with the questions and answers. Just don't read the passage, try to visualize it like a story and get the grip of the actual message of the passage and info. So don't just read the passage just for the sake of reading it, but visualize it, try to understand it, try to connect it into a story or to convert it into a story, and try to get the actual message of the particular passage. A good thumb rule is to practice quizzes at least a month before the UGC NET exam, as it is a scoring section. So at least 1 month before, you must be able to go through the different passages which had come the previous question in the previous question papers. You must read those passages, solve the question answers, see where you stand, and also keep on reading more and more of newspaper editorials. Then very important tips for solving comprehension: read and visualize. It is very easy for you to understand a passage when you read it and when you also try to convert it into pictures, or you try to visualize it, audio, video, what we call it. Then recognize the keywords. Understanding the keywords is something which is very important, because the passage revolves around this particular keywords. These keywords are the basic theme of the passage. These keywords are the basic understanding of that passage, or they are the summary of that particular passage. Time management is an important aspect. Now, time management is very important because you have got limited time in which you have to solve this particular questions. You have to read the passage at least once or twice, go through the questions, and select the right and the correct answers. Ignore the useless words. Then don't panic and lose confidence. Just only the message. Just try to get the summary of the message. What exactly the author wants to convey his message through. Connect with the tone of the author. It's very important to understand the heart or the mind of the author while reading this particular passage. Make a habit of finding keywords quickly and underline those words. Then problems that are basically faced by students. Problem number 1, most important problem which students face. Most common complaint of students is that the students are unable to understand the passage of reading comprehension. The very common complaint is what? That the students are not able to understand the passage. Then what is the solution? You need not to understand each and every word of the comprehension. So this is something very logical, that don't try to understand everything what is of the passage. At the same time, you find the gist or the summary of that particular passage. Both these points may appear contradictory, but the crucial thing is you need to eliminate the words, phrases, sentences from the reading comprehension that is not useful, and need to focus only on the keywords. So try to understand the keywords, because keywords will tell you what the author is really wanting to share from this particular article. Then the second problem most of the students face, that find your strengths, read the passage first and then go to the questions and solve them. Now this is the general trend. It depends from person to person, as I said last time, that first the basic understanding, to basically understand the passage, you have to read it and then go to the questions. But some students are not very comfortable with it. They first like to read the questions and then go to the article or to the comprehension passage. Both of the methods are very good. Whatever you feel comfortable at, you do it, because at the end of the day, it is your marks that are very important to you. Scoring full marks in comprehension is what we want. Which method you are choosing is not does not really apply over here. So you can use the bottom up approach, that is first the questions and then go to the passage. That means read the questions first so that you can have an idea what to look for in the comprehension. Reading comprehension comprises two words, that is reading, which means to study, and comprehension, which means the ability to understand something. Comprehension comes from a word comprehend, which means to understand, which means to grasp something. Ability to understand something. So studying it and ability to understand it. So as the name denotes, it completely means the study of a passage or a paragraph and to understand what the author or the writer is trying to convey. This section is included in UGC NET exam or SET exam also, in order to test the reading skills of an individual in the given period of time and to check whether the aspirants are able to comprehend it effectively and accurately or not. So now what is the main purpose of comprehension questions or comprehension passage or this particular unit in your UGC NET SET exam? First thing is to check your reading skill, to test your reading skill, and then whether you have really understood it or not. Develop the habit of reading newspapers, especially editorial columns. Continuous reading will improve your comprehension skills, and at the same time, it will help you summarize what is given in the article quickly, which will help you save time during exams and can attempt maximum questions in minimum time. Time limit is very important. So we cannot just give more and more time to comprehension, because if you spend more time in comprehension, then you will not be able to complete your other questions. So if you are already having this particular skill sets to read a passage, understand it in a shortest possible time, and then answer the questions very quickly, then you are up to the mark. Always before reading the passage, scroll the paper and go through the questions and keep in mind the questions asked. So sometimes before reading the passage, you must also scroll down the questions and find out what questions are asked and keep those questions in mind, so that you will be able to finish your answers and find your answers as soon as possible. Just keep in mind that all questions are not difficult. Some are direct and some are inference-based questions. If there are 4 questions in a set, then 2 will be direct, 1 will be moderate, and 1 will be inference-based. Look for such sets and go on solving the direct one first. This will regain your confidence level and will save your time for solving the inference-based. Answer from what is given in the passage. Don't use any outside information or what you know is true. So very important, you have to answer the questions from the passage only. Even if you have more knowledge than the author, don't attempt to show your knowledge in the by writing in the paper something which is not from the passage. You only have to stick to the passage. Consider true as what is given and answer accordingly. Don't assume anything what you know to be true. Any option that cannot be proved with given information in the passage should be omitted. Read the given instructions carefully. Select your option accordingly, as some options may sound too close. There are some tricky questions. Some very close options will be given, so you have to select the right one. Answer in the context of the passage. Don't always go with the literal meaning of the words, as sometimes figurative meanings are being used. So see how the words are used in the passage and then only answer. Don't just spend time on a single question. If you are unable to find the correct option, then try solving by eliminating option or move to the next set of questions. If you are stuck in one particular question and if it is taking time, then the best thing is that leave that question, move to the other questions, and then come back to that question when you have time. So these are all the different kinds of instructions, or these are just some tips that I can give you for you to understand and solve this comprehension passage. So let us go on to some different passages also. Last time also we had seen a few passages. This will be the last lecture in this particular series for comprehension, and we are going to again see some good passages on comprehension which had come before also. So we'll move into some of the passages. Okay, I'll read these passages for you. Okay. So this particular passage came in July 2016 exam. So the passage goes around like this. In terms of labor, for decades, the relatively low cost and high quality of Japanese workers conferred considerable competitive advantage across numerous durable goods and consumer electronic industries. Example, machinery, automobiles, televisions, radios. So what is basically from this first line only we can understand that this is talking about the skilled labors of different countries. Okay, then labor-based advantages shifted to South Korea, then to Malaysia, then to Mexico and other nations. Today, China appears to be capitalizing best on the basis of labor. We all know today that China is the greatest industrial hub of today, isn't it? It is one of the greatest industrial hub of today, and most of the products are manufactured in China, and China has become rich, and its per capita income has increased only because it has become a manufacturing country or an industrial hub. Japanese firms still remain competitive in markets for such durable goods, electronics, and other products. But the labor force is no longer sufficient for competitive advantage over manufacturers in other industrializing nations. Such shifting of labor-based advantage is clearly not limited to manufacturing industry. Today, number of IT and service jobs are moving from Europe and North America to India, Singapore, and like countries with relatively well-educated, low-cost workforces possessing technical skills. So it is known. There are two types of labor that the author is talking about. The first is the manufacturing people, and the second one is the people who are in the service industry. Okay. However, as education levels and technical skills continue to rise in other countries, India, Singapore, and like nations enjoy labor-based competitive advantage today are likely to find such advantage cannot be sustained through emergence of new competitors. The terms of capital for centuries, the days of gold coins and later even paper money restricted financial flows. Subsequently, regional concentrations were formed where large banks, industries, and markets coalesced. But today, capital flows internationally at rapid speed. Global commerce no longer requires regional interactions among business players. Regional capital concentrations in places such as New York, London, and Tokyo still persist, of course, but the capital concentrated there is no longer sufficient for competitive advantage over other capitalists distributed worldwide. Only if an organization is based to combine, integrate, and apply its resources, example, land, labor, capital, and IT, in an effective manner that is not readily imitable by competitors, such as an organization enjoy competitive advantage sustainable over time. In a knowledge-based theory of the firm, this idea is extended to view organizational knowledge as a resource with at least the same level of power and importance as the traditional economic inputs. An organization with superior knowledge can achieve competitive advantage in markets that appreciate the application of such knowledge. Semiconductors, genetic engineering, pharmaceuticals, software, military warfare, and like knowledge intensive competitive arenas provide both time proven and current examples. Consider semiconductors, example computer chips, which are made principally of sand and common metals. These ubiquitous and powerful electronic devices are designed within common office buildings using commercially available tools and fabricated within factories in many industrialized nations. Hence, land is not the key competitive resource in the semiconductor industry. Based on the passage, we have to answer the following questions. Which country enjoyed competitive advantage in automobile industry for decades? It is right in the first sentence. Here we see over here. In terms of labor, for decades, relatively low cost and high quality of Japanese workers conferred considerable competitive advantage. So the first answer over here, the options are South Korea, Japan, Mexico, Malaysia, and the right answer is Japan, which is found in the first 2 or 3 lines of the passage. Why labor-based competitive advantages of India and Singapore cannot be sustained in IT and service sectors? Due to diminishing levels of skill, due to capital-intensive technology making inroads, because of new competitors, and because of shifting of labor-based advantage in manufacturing industries. So the right answer is because of new competitors. So because new competitors are coming in, this growth or this competition can be moved to different places also. How can an organization enjoy competitive advantages sustainable over time? The first this thing is through regional capital flows, through regional interactions among business players, by making large banks, industries, and markets coalesced, and by effective use of various instrumentalists. So by effective use of various instrumentalists is the right answer. What is required to ensure competitive advantages in specific markets? Access to capital, common office buildings, superior knowledge, common metals. So, what is really required to see that your markets are competitive is superior knowledge. The passage also mentions about the trend of global financial flow, absence of competition in manufacturing industry, regionalization of capitalist, organizational incompatibility. What does so these things are not second, third, and fourth are not mentioned in the passage. So the global financial flow is the right answer. What does the author lay stress on in the passage? International commerce, labor-intensive industries, capital resource management, knowledge-driven competitive advantage. So knowledge-driven competitive advantage is something what the author is trying to tell us. The importance of knowledge-based, knowledge-driven competitive advantage. So these are the ways in which questions will be asked. Everything would be in the passage. You just need to pick up the right answers. Let's look at another passage. I did that thing recently where you have to sign a big card, which is a horror unto itself, especially as the keeper of the big card was leaning over me at the time. Suddenly, I was on the spot, a rabbit in the headlights, torn between doing a fun message or some sort of in joke or a drawing. Instead, overwhelmed by the myriad options available to me, I decided, lo, just right. Good luck, best Joel. It was then that I realized to my horror that I had forgotten how to write. My entire existence is tap letters into computer. My shopping list are hidden in the notes function of my phone. If I need to remember something, I send an email to myself. A pen is something I chew when I'm struggling to think. Paper is something I pile beneath my laptop to make it a more comfortable height for me to type on. A poll of 1,000 teens by the stationers big found that 1 in 10 don't own a pen. A third have never written a letter, and half of 13 to 19 years old have never been forced to sit down and write a thank you letter. More than 80% have never written a love letter. 56% don't have a letter paper at home, and a quarter have never known the unique torture of writing a birthday card. The most a teen ever has to use a pen is on an exam paper. Because Big, have you heard of mobile phones? Have you heard of email, Lacebook, or Snapchatting? This is the future. Pens are dead. Paper is dead. Handwriting is a relic. Handwriting is one of the most creative outlets we have and should be given the same importance as other art forms such as sketching, painting, or photography. So this is the passage. Let's try to answer the questions. When confronted with signing a big card, the author felt like a rabbit in the headlight. What does this phrase mean? Okay, rabbit in the headlight, any animal. Okay, when the what to say when the car lamps are focused on the eyes of a particular animal during the night, maybe it is a cat or a dog or a rabbit. What happens? They get confused. They will sit there only. Okay, so a slate of confusions. a state of confusion, a state of pleasure, a state of anxiety, a state of pain. So here we see that right in the first line only, we see that what did the author feel when he had to sign the big card or write the big card. He felt like a rabbit in the headlights. Okay, which means which is figurative of being confused. Okay, a state of confusion. According to the author, which one is not the most creative outlet of pursuit? Handwriting, photography, sketching, reading is not one of the most creative outlet of pursuit. Then the entire existence of the author revolves around what does it revolve? Computer, mobile phone, typewrite. So we have to. So these are the three options that are given. So identify the correct answer from the quotes given below. The first one is B only. The second one is A and B only. Third one is A, B, and C, that means all. And the fourth one is B and C only. So it is basically computer and mobile phone, that is A and B only, because that is mentioned in the paragraph. Okay, how many teens, as per the big survey, do not own a pen? Okay, how many teens do not own a pen? So this is also given in this particular this thing. Big found that 1 in 10 don't have a pen. 1 in 10. So the answer is given here. 1 in 10 do not have do not have a pen. What is the main concern of the author? That the teens use social networks for communication, that the teens use mobile phones, that the teens use computer, that the teens have forgotten the art of handwriting. The teens have forgotten the art of handwriting is the right answer. Then let's move to another passage. Storytelling is not in our genes. Neither it is an evolutionary history. It is the essence of what makes us human. So what makes us human? It is basically the storytelling ability. Human beings progress by telling stories. Okay. One event can result in a great variety of stories being told about it. Sometimes those stories differ greatly. Which stories are picked up and repeated and which ones are dropped and forgotten often determines how we progress. Our history, knowledge, and understanding are all the collections of the few stories that survive. This includes the story that we tell each other about the future. And how the future will turn out depends partly, possibly, largely on which stories we collectively choose to believe. Some stories are designed to spread fear and concern. This is because some storytellers feel that there is a need to raise some tensions. Some stories are frightening. They are like totemic warnings. Fail to act now and we are all doomed. Then there are stories that indicate that all will be fine so long as we leave everything up to a few especially able adults. Currently, this trend is being led by those who call themselves rational optimists. They tend to claim that it is human nature to compete and to succeed and also to profit at the expense of others. The rational optimists, however, do not realize how humanity has progressed over time through amiable social networks and how large groups working less selfishness and in the process accommodate rich and poor, high and low alike. This aspect of storytelling is considered by the practical possibles who sit between those who say all is fine and cheerful and by individualistic in your approach to a successful future, and those who ordain pessimism and fear that we are doomed. What the future holds for us is which stories we hold on to and how we act on them. Okay. Our knowledge is questions are our knowledge is a collection of all stories that we have heard during our lifetime. Some stories that we remember, a few stories that survive, some important stories. And the right answer is a few stories that survive. Storytelling is an art, a science. It's in our genes, the essence of what makes us human. So, what is the real thing of storytelling? It is the essence of what makes us humans. How the future will turn out to be depends upon these stories. Uh, upon which stories does it depend? We collectively choose to believe in, which are repeatedly narrated, designed to spread fear and tension, designed to make prophecy. So the right answer is we collectively choose to believe in. Then the next question is rational optimists look for opportunities, are sensible and cheerful, are selfishly driven. Identify the correct answer from the quotes given below. A, B, and C, all three. A only, and the third one is A and B only, and B and C only. So the right answer is A, B, and C, because rational optimists look for opportunities. They are also sensible and cheerful, and they are also selfishly driven. Humans become less selfish when they work in large groups, they listen to frightening stories, they listen to cheerful stories, they work in solitude. So, when do humans become less selfish? When they work in large groups, because then they learn to depend upon each other. Then the next question is practical possibles. Practical possibles are the ones who follow midway path, are doomed mongers, are self-centered, are cheerful and carefree. So the right answer is follow the midway path. So who are the practical possibles? They are the ones who follow the midway path. Then let's look at one more paragraph. The literary distaste of politics, however, seems to be focused not so much on the largely murky practice in politics in itself as a subject of literary representation, but rather more on how it is often depicted in literature, that is, on the very politics of such representation. A political novel often turns out to be not merely a novel about politics, but a novel with a politics of its own. For it seeks not merely to show, to not merely to show us how things are, but has fairly definite ideas about how things should be and precisely what one should think and do in order to make things move in that desired direction. In short, it seeks to convert and enlist the reader to a particular cause or ideology. It often is in an only too familiar phrase, not literature but propaganda. This is said violate the very spirit of literature, which is to broaden our understanding of the world and to arrange range of our sympathies rather than to narrow them down through partisan commitment. As John Keats said, we hate poetry that has a palpable design upon us. Another reason why politics does not seem amenable to the highest kind of literary representation seems to arise from the fact that politics, by its very nature, is constituted of ideas and ideologies. If political situations do not lend themselves to happy literary treatment, political ideas present perhaps an even greater problem in this regard. Literature, it is argued, is about human experiences rather than about intellectual abstractions. It deals in what is called the felt reality of human flesh and blood, and in sap and savor, rasa, rather than in arid and lifeless ideas. In an extensive discussion of the matter in her books Ideas and the novel, the American novelist Mary McCarthy observed that ideas are still today felt to be unsightly in the novel, though that was not so in former days, that is, in the 18th and 19th centuries. Her formulation of the precise nature of the incompatibility between ideas on the one hand and the novel on the other betrays perhaps a divided conscience in the matter and a sense of dilemma shared by many writers and readers. An idea cannot have loose ends, but a novel, I almost think, needs them nevertheless. There is enough in common for the novelist to feel the attraction of ideas while taking up arms against them, most often with weapons of mockery. So the questions here are, the constructs of politics by its nature is the first option is prevalent political situation, ideas and ideologies, political propaganda, understanding of Iranian nature. So the right answer is political propaganda. Literature deals with the first is literature deals with the first option is human experiences in politics, intellectual abstractions, dry and empty ideas, felt reality of human life. So the last one, that is literature deals with the felt reality of human life. The observations of the novelist Mary McCarthy reveals the first option is unseen felt ideas of today in the novel, then dichotomy of conscience on political ideas and novels, compatibility between idea and novel, endless ideas and novels. So here we see the second one, dichotomy of conscience on political ideas and novels, because this entire sentence appears in the passage. According to the passage, a political novel often turns out to be the first option is literary distaste for politics, literary representation of politics, novel with its own politics, depiction of murky practice of politics. The answer is novel with its own politics. The political novel reveals reality of things, writer's perception, a particular idea of the readers, and the fourth one is the spirit of literature. And the right answer is writer's perception. So a political novel reveals what? Writer's perception. So we'll stop here today. We have discussed many passages also. We have solved the comprehension passages. I've also given you certain tips as to how you need to understand the comprehension passage in the shortest possible time and answer the questions because you always have a time limit. So all the best for your exams, for NET and SET exams. Write well and do well in your exams. All the best for you all. And if you like this channel, you can like this channel, you can subscribe, or you can share it to your friends so they will also be benefited from it. Thank you so much and have a great day. And at the same time, once again, all the best for your NET/SET exams. Thank you so much.